Welcome to Cheating Facts, real accounts of deception and justice. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from. I'm sharing true stories of betrayal and the strategic responses that followed. And today's story involves a double betrayal that I never saw coming. My name is Rebecca, and I'm here to share how discovering my divorce, lawyer's affair with my husband led to consequences neither of them anticipated. 2 years ago, I was married to Vincent, a successful marketing director who I thought was my partner in building our life together. We'd been married for 8 years when I started noticing changes in his behavior. Late nights at the office became more frequent. Business trips seemed to multiply, and our conversations became shorter and more distant. The breaking point came when I found suspicious credit card charges for expensive dinners and hotel rooms that didn't match his supposed work schedule. When I confronted Vincent, he became defensive and accused me of being paranoid. But the evidence was mounting, and I knew our marriage was over. I decided to file for divorce and began researching family law attorneys. After several consultations, I chose Melanie Torres, a well-regarded divorce lawyer with 15 years of experience. She had excellent reviews, specialized in high-asset divorces, and seemed genuinely committed to protecting my interests. During our first meeting, Melanie was professional and reassuring. She explained the divorce process, discussed asset division, and outlined a strategy for achieving a fair settlement. I felt confident that I had chosen the right advocate for this difficult process. However, something strange happened during our second meeting. Vincent had been served with the divorce papers, and Melanie needed to discuss his initial response. When she mentioned speaking with his attorney, she seemed unusually familiar with details about Vincent's schedule and recent activities. I found it odd that she knew. He had recently returned from a business conference in Chicago, especially since I hadn't mentioned that detail. When I asked how she knew about his trip, she quickly explained that his attorney had mentioned it during their preliminary discussion. Over the next few weeks, I noticed more unusual patterns. Melanie would schedule our meetings for times when she knew Vincent would be available for calls from his attorney. She seemed to know details about his work projects that weren't relevant to our divorce proceedings. Most concerning was her suggestion that I should be more flexible on certain settlement terms that heavily favored Vincent. The suspicious behavior escalated when Melanie began pushing for joint meetings between all parties to expedite the process. She insisted these meetings would be more efficient than traditional negotiations through separate attorneys. Something about her enthusiasm for face-to-face meetings with Vincent didn't feel right. I decided to arrive early for one of these joint meetings to observe their interaction before the official start time. What I witnessed confirmed my growing suspicions. Vincent and Melanie were talking in the conference room with a familiarity that went far beyond professional courtesy. Their body language, the way they looked at each other, and their comfortable conversation suggested a personal relationship. Rather than confront them immediately, I decided to gather concrete evidence. I started documenting everything: meeting times, unusual suggestions from Melanie, and any inconsistencies in her advice. I also began researching both of them online to see if I could find any connections. My investigation revealed that Melanie and Vincent had mutual connections on LinkedIn dating back several months. Well before I had hired her, they had both attended the same professional networking event in the city, where Vincent claimed to have a business meeting. The timeline suggested their relationship had begun before Vincent and I even started divorce proceedings. The breakthrough came when I decided to record one of our meetings. In many states, it's legal to record conversations when you're a participant, and I wanted proof of any misconduct. During what was supposed to be a strategy session about my settlement demands, I asked Melanie directly about her relationship with Vincent. Her response was telling. Instead of professional outrage at the suggestion, she became defensive and nervous. She stumbled over her explanation of their interactions and contradicted several things she had told me previously. Most damaging was her admission that she had been consulting informally with Vincent about the best approach to our divorce. This recording was the smoking gun I needed. A divorce attorney secretly consulting with the opposing party is a serious breach of professional ethics. But I suspected their relationship went deeper than professional misconduct. I hired a private investigator to document their meetings outside of legal consultations. Within 2 weeks, we had photographs of them at restaurants, leaving her apartment building together, and engaging in clearly romantic behavior. The evidence painted a clear picture of an affair that had compromised my legal representation. Armed with this evidence, I filed a complaint with the State Bar Association detailing Melanie's ethical violations and conflict of interest. I also contacted the managing partner at her law firm to report the misconduct. The evidence I provided included the recording, photographs, timeline documentation, and proof of their relationship prior to my hiring her. The consequences were swift and severe. The State Bar launched an immediate investigation into Melanie's conduct. Her law firm suspended her pending the outcome of the investigation and assigned a new attorney to handle any ongoing cases she had been representing. My divorce case was transferred to a new lawyer at no additional cost. For Vincent, the exposure of his affair had professional implications as well. His company had strict policies about relationships that could create conflicts of interest, and his affair with my attorney during our divorce proceedings raised serious questions about his judgment and integrity. When his employer learned about the situation, they placed him on administrative leave while conducting their own investigation. The new attorney assigned to my case reviewed all of Melanie's work and immediately identified several instances where her advice had clearly favored Vincent's interests over mine. We were able to demonstrate that her compromised position had affected her representation, which strengthened my position in the divorce settlement. Vincent's attempt to use his relationship with my lawyer to gain advantage in our divorce completely backfired. The evidence of their affair and the professional misconduct became part of the divorce proceedings, painting him in an extremely negative light. The judge was particularly critical of the deception and the attempt to manipulate the legal process. The final settlement was far more favorable to me than what Melanie had originally suggested was possible. Vincent's credibility was completely destroyed, and his attempts to hide assets or minimize his income were viewed with extreme skepticism by the court. Melanie faced serious professional consequences. The State Bar investigation resulted in a formal reprimand and suspension of her law license. Her law firm terminated her employment, and the scandal significantly damaged her reputation in the legal community. The photographs and evidence of her misconduct became part of the public record through the bar complaint process. Vincent's professional consequences were equally severe. His company's investigation concluded that his judgment and integrity were compromised, and they terminated his employment. Finding new work in his field proved difficult because the scandal had become known within his professional network. The most satisfying aspect of this entire experience was how their deception ultimately worked against them. They thought they were being clever by manipulating the legal process from both sides. But their scheme created evidence of misconduct that made my divorce case much stronger. Looking back, I'm grateful that I trusted my instincts when something felt wrong about Melanie's representation. If I had ignored those warning signs, I might have accepted a settlement that was far less than what I deserved. While they benefited from their deception, this experience taught me the importance of thoroughly vetting anyone you hire to represent your interests, especially during vulnerable times like divorce proceedings. It also reinforced that documentation and evidence are crucial when dealing with people who are willing to deceive and manipulate. Vincent and Melanie's affair cost them both their careers and reputations. While I walked away with a fair settlement and the satisfaction of knowing that justice was served, their attempt to cheat the system ended up destroying the very things they were trying to protect. The lesson here is that deception and professional misconduct have consequences, especially when the victim is determined to seek justice and has the evidence to back up their claims. Both Vincent and Melanie underestimated my resolve and my ability to uncover their scheme, and that miscalculation cost them everything. That's my story of how discovering my divorce lawyer's affair with my husband led to consequences that neither of them saw coming. If you've experienced similar betrayal or professional misconduct, remember that documentation and evidence are your most powerful tools for seeking justice. Thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe for more true stories of betrayal and justice. Leave a comment sharing your thoughts or your own experiences with professional misconduct or infidelity. I'll see you in the next video.